I am Surekji Parital. I am a student from 3rd BCA and I am doing this video presentation as an assignment for my environment paper. Today I am exploring the ecosystem of my hometown, Ayarkunam, in the Kottayam district of Kerala, located about 15 kilometers from Kottayam city between Pala and Ettumanur. This is the first ecosystem that we will be exploring. It is a freshwater aquatic ecosystem and it is a lentic environment, which also means that it is a still water environment. The abiotic components here are the sunlight and the dissolved oxygen in the water. The producers in this ecosystem are the algae and the microscopic phytoplanktons. Primary consumers like snails and small insects feed on them, which are then hunted by secondary consumers like frogs or small fish. The next ecosystem is a small-scale artificial ecosystem. It is a closed system where humans provide the container and the water. The physical structure is dominated by water lettuce on the surface, which creates a shaded root zone underneath. The producers here are the water lettuce. The consumers are the fish, which are the primary inhabitants, surviving by grazing on the organic matter and microorganisms found on the hanging roots. Snails act as scavengers, cleaning the tank walls, while frogs use the floating leaves as a resting platform. This is a miniature food web where the fish and the plants depend on each other for nutrient cycling in a confined space. The next ecosystem we have with us is the green paddy field. This is an example for an anthropogenic or human-made ecosystem. The abiotic components here are the saturated soil and controlled water levels, which are managed to create the perfect environment for growing rice. The main producers here are the rice plants. The primary consumers are field snails and grasshoppers. They feed on the rice. These attract secondary consumers like skittering frog and dragonflies. You may also see tertiary consumers like the cattle egret hunting in the mud. Decomposers here are bacteria which break down the dead organic matter in the mud to replace and recycle nutrients. This is our next ecosystem. As you can see, it is an aquatic ecosystem. The abiotic components here are the water, the rocky or sandy bottom, and high levels of dissolved oxygen that is found in the water. The biotic components include a living community that is adapted to survive in flowing water, often clinging to rocks or swimming against the current. The producers here are periphyton, or the algae attached to submerged surfaces, and various aquatic mosses found along the banks. The consumers here include primary consumers, which are freshwater snails and small crustaceans. The secondary consumers consist of native fish species that thrive in flowing water. Tertiary consumers are often predatory birds like kingfishers that hunt from the trees above. Decomposers here are aquatic fungi and bacteria that play a major role in breaking down organic matter, like leaves and wood that fall into the river from the surrounding land. Now let's look closer at the biodiversity, the variety of life that inhabits these systems. In this area, we can see a blend of wild and domestic species that keep our environment functional. The plant diversity, or flora. As producers, the plants are highly diverse. In our water bodies, we can see aquatic species like water lettuce, which provide essential surface cover. On land, the biodiversity ranges from the rice crops in the fields to the climbers and vines that grow vertically on trees that to reach the sunlight. We can also find various medicinal plants and fruit-bearing trees like jackfruit and mango that define our local flora. The animal diversity of fauna. You will find a high population of dragonflies, spiders, and butterflies, along with snails, which act as primary consumers. Our water bodies are home to several native fish species and amphibians, like the skittering frog. Birds like cattle egrets and kingfishers are frequently seen hunting in the field and along the river, acting as secondary and tertiary consumers. Despite its natural beauty, this biodiversity faces significant human induced threats, primarily pollution. In our man made paddy fields and plantations, the excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides lead to runoff. This enters our water bodies and causes nutrient imbalance. Furthermore, non-biodegradable wastes often end up in our drainage systems and rivers, physically causing harm to aquatic life and clogging the flow of water. This also has many ecological impact. The pollution triggers eutrophication. This process depletes dissolved oxygen, making it difficult for fish and other native species to survive. To protect our environment, we must implement both in situ and ex situ conservation. We can protect our natural riverbanks and maintain our traditional home gardens, which serve as mini refuges for local species. Simple actions like reducing plastic waste, switching to organic manures in our gardens, and keeping our local ponds clean can make a massive difference. Protecting our ecosystem is not just an assignment, it is a responsibility. By preserving the balance between our man made fields and natural rivers, we ensure a healthy environment for the future.